Dear reader, listener, this is week 37. We only have one more after this. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, if you're beginning this audio version of Taught on week 37, you're at the end, friend. I would advise going back to listen to weeks 1 through 36 and the foreword and prologue. All of these are in order in the playlist and can be accessed on the YouTube channel Taught at Taught 2022. This character's journal makes much more sense if you start at her beginning. Thank you for reading, listening. Taught, Week 37. Monday, May 8th, 2017, 6 a.m. This is how I know I'm really moving on in every way. Despite Friday being one of the greatest displays of shitty decision making by administration and a feast of little events that kept me entertained for well over the allotted 30 minutes given to the celebration of success, I did not feel the need to talk to myself about any of it. Then I thought about if I ever really wanted to turn this into a book. And as a fantasy writer, let me insert, not a writer who writes in the genre of fantasy, but a writer in my own fantasies, I realize that I owe my fantasy reader, see above parenthetical notation so as not to be confused by the genre versus my fantasizing, an entry about this epic middle school moment. First off, we had 12 substitute teachers stationed at activities. I chuckle to even think about it. 12 people who don't know hardly any of these kids. Did I mention there are 738 kids? Anita and Derek had spent 2 days setting up activities around the building. There were 10 different games set up in the gym: basketball, ping pong, badminton, etc. There were 8 more stations set up in the commons area: crafting, board games, knitting, drawing, painting, etc. 6 classrooms were devoted to various genres of YouTube videos: bunny pets, how to survive a zombie apocalypse, tearjerker shorts, anime clips, etc. The Facts Family and Consumer Science Room was set up with 4 stations for making snacks. And I can't even remember how many classrooms were set up with other activities. Every staff member was on deck. We had all been assigned a spot to be. I was assigned the lovely duty of bathroom attendant for the bathrooms that led down the hall to the gym from the commons, which meant that I had the bathrooms in the commons to deal with also. Now, having chaperoned many school dances, I can tell you this is one of the crappiest assignments, no pun intended. If there is pain of any kind, physical or emotional, it will come out in the bathrooms. Get in a fight with your best friend? Go cry about it in the bathroom. Girlfriend breaks up with you? Wait till her new boyfriend goes in the bathroom, follow him in, and start a fight. And you will gather an audience in there regardless of why you are crying or who you are punching. Kids intuitively know none of us wants to go in there for a wealth of reasons I don't have time to talk about. And they use that knowledge to turn the bathrooms into a very tiny septic biome that should be called Lord of the Flies, which is making me laugh at myself right now because I think I'm so damn funny. Lord of the Flies, and it's a bathroom. Anyway, I will go in there to the bathrooms, I mean, which is why I got this assignment. The kids know I'll gladly come in and do a sweep. That's what I call it. Don't care if you're crying or punching. I'm coming in and you're going out. A clean sweep of the bathroom. The boys get a 5-second countdown that I'm coming in, and they better be ready, and you know what I mean. I yell this from the door, and I've never gotten to 0, I count backwards, and still had kids in there when I entered. I've actually got a reputation for this, and if the kids see me stationed at the bathrooms, they turn around and go find another private area to embrace their preteen/teen angst. So, this location assignment is why I got to see all the action. Thankfully, there was no action in the bathrooms, but there was a whole lot of it in the gym. The biggest problem, besides having 12 substitutes, was having 738 students having no direction for the first 30 minutes of their entire middle school careers. Anita had her assembly, and told them about all the activities. She praised them and told them how proud she was of their test scores. In fact, she had ordered a banner because our building had won a state distinction for our test scores. That banner would be proudly displayed the rest of this year and all of next year. Then she said, and I quote, "Go have fun." But what she meant was go join an activity. And if the one you want to do is full, find another one. And we're watching you like hawks, so behave. What, 738 kids? Oh, I'll cut them some slack. 700. What 700 kids heard was, "Go have a riot, you entitled little shits. Once again, you did nothing, so prove how very worthy you are of earning nothing by doing whatever you want. Hurry, you only have 30 minutes to create mayhem." For sure. If we had had any type of emergency, would have all been fucked. The noise alone was deafening. Kids screaming, running, sliding down the stair rails. Finally, Anita came over the intercom and screamed that everyone had 30 seconds to get to an activity or be sent to the office. After the fact, we found out some teachers never had a single student show up to their activity. Luckies. However, about 300 of the 700 kids went to the gym. Remember? 10 games in there. That's approximately 30 kids per game. And some of those games were things like badminton, maximum 4 players, not 30. And 10 out of the 12 substitutes were manning those games. And what do kids do when they have nothing to do? They congregate. And if there's something you don't want at a middle school, it's kids congregating because they have nothing better to do. I knew when I saw Dakota and the Saggy Pants gang head into the gym that someone was going to have their hands full in there. And then when Ethan from the Black Eyeliner gang and his crew sauntered in a few minutes later, I genuinely felt sorry for whoever had that duty because I didn't know who had been assigned to the gym. If I had known there were 10 subs in there, I would have intervened myself. I might be disconnected and moving on, but I am not cruel, and this was a cruel setup. Again, it was the noise that got all of our attention. By the time I got there, to say that it was chaos would be putting it mildly. If I understand correctly, it all started with a friendly thwack on the bum with a badminton racket. Except it wasn't that friendly or doled out by an actual friend, which is why someone who was a true friend to the thwack recipient defended their friend by delivering their own smack only with a ping pong paddle. I jokingly call these groups of boys gangs, but they delivered on Friday. It was gang warfare, and the weapons were a variety of gym equipment that, thankfully, was not too damaging, but effective at inflicting pain nonetheless. The biggest problem was that because so many people were yelling, no one knew what to do. And then someone would receive a casualty and feel the need to retaliate, which started a whole new battle in a new area in the gym. The only good piece of planning in this whole event was that it was the last 30 minutes of the day. The end of day bell and kids wanting to go home despite a free for all was the thing that likely kept anyone from getting seriously injured. The bell went off and kids scattered. I know those boys from my seventh hour knew well enough that getting out of there was their only hope for not having dire consequences. And get out of there they did. Within a minute of the bell, that gym was an abandoned war zone with 10 shell shocked substitutes. One was sporting a waffle mark of a badminton racket on his chin, and two of the ladies were crying. I'm almost to school, so I have to wrap this up. But I'm wondering if Anita and Derek will review that documentation and behavior plan that they made me turn in before spring break. It could be very helpful to them. And yes, I am feeling vindicated. I do feel very sorry for those subs, though. Wednesday, May 10th, 2017, 4 p.m. I had really hoped to hear what the consequence for the celebration of success was, but it must have been so good that everyone's afraid to talk about it. Derek is unchanged, but Anita is pale and tight lipped. Today, I've officially given up hope I'll hear anything. Monday was interesting, though, because several of my seventh hour students were sporting a variety of scratches and bruises. And something must have happened because four of them have not been here since last Friday. However, I have not gotten any notices to provide work for in school or out of school suspensions. I've been enjoying the break, though, to be honest. Yesterday, Paulo and I spent a lot of time talking about our new apartment and looking at pictures of it. The apartment is in a town outside of Seattle, and Paulo will take the bus to work when and if he needs to go on site. You can see the mountains from our living room window. I panicked at the thought of renting a place without seeing it, but Paulo insisted. Someone in his company recommended this apartment, and we're getting a good deal, even though it is really expensive. He trusts his colleagues. They've been very helpful to him. If we hate it, we'll move again in a year, he gently explained. It was going to be okay. It all just seems so permanent. Although Paulo reminded me nothing's permanent. And if we want to make it permanent, then that is a choice. Our choice. Thursday, May 11th, 2017, 6 a.m. Dan and Kelly are taking me out for dinner on Friday. Oh, they are too good to me. We talked about doing a potluck family thing, but Dan's wife Cindy couldn't make it, and when asked, Kevin and Paulo offered to take the kids and sacrifice themselves by watching some sporting event on pay-per-view or something. It doesn't surprise me that those two would choose babysitting over dinner out with all our teaching friends. Just getting out of dinner, just getting out of dinner with two toddlers is gift enough in these guys' eyes. I think they're both still traumatized about the Denny's waitress asking us how much longer we would be and were we planning to clean under the table before we left the last time we all went to breakfast. Personally, I prefer this setup. Teachers are the absolute worst in social situations. All we do is talk shop. Even when we think we aren't, we actually are. It is such an all encompassing career that everything we do is touched by it. While ordering food, we will talk about the lunch options at school, the amount of time we get for lunch, or what we have witnessed students eating. Buying a new car? We know a kid whose parent has that car, and then we start talking about that kid and all their siblings and their educational histories. I could go on and on. And we don't even realize we're doing it until we notice our partners and children have slowly created their own social groups while we talk about school. Now I could go have dinner with Kelly and Dan and not feel any guilt when we started talking about school. In other news, it would seem that the consequence for the celebration of success is litigation. Rumor has it some of the parents have bonded together to get an attorney. If the rumor mill is to be trusted, some of my missing seventh hour students' families are leading the movement. And it seems this will be the fourth lawsuit brought to our district this year. Now, I will be the first to say the celebration of success was dumb, but at the end of the day, students should know better than to hit each other with gym equipment. That is not lawsuit worthy. Because believe me, if we're suing one another because kids can't behave themselves without an adult hovering over them at all times, I have a few suits that I need to file myself. Moments like these make me realize how far we truly are as a society from being able to have discourse and resolve conflict. So far that we need attorneys to do it for us, and we need money and power rather than apologies and change. Saturday, May 13th, 2017, 7 a.m. Dinner was awesome and sad. Dan and Kelly picked me up at 5. We went to my favorite Mexican restaurant and started with margaritas. They both said at different points that they would come and visit me, but I wonder if they really will. I know they love me, but I've never known either of them to travel much. And while we are super close at school, I sometimes realize I don't know tons about their personal lives. I do know more than most, but maybe not as much as people who might actually come visit me. I think it was Kelly that stated that this was the end of an era. And while she said it lightly, we all three felt it heavily. So we changed the subject and reminisced and gossiped and ate nachos and drank. Because sometimes that is what friendship is, being what you need in the moment you need it. The future would take care of itself. But in that moment, Kelly and Dan were my close friends. It would be okay if that was not our truth in the future, and if they never visited me. At 6, Maureen walked in. I was shocked. Then Chris and Brad says. A couple of minutes after them, Amy and Derek joined us. Then Pauline showed up. Insert eye roll, but in a loving way. I think about 15 people joined us. Kelly had invited some people for an informal goodbye for Brad and me. It was pretty sweet. I got pretty drunk. And I've decided I'm a pretty lucky person.